Any camera can be cinematic. It's never been about the camera. It's about how you see. It's about movement with purpose, light with intention, framing that speaks louder than words. It's about knowing when to let shadows fall and when to hold still on a moment. When to move with your subject instead of around them. You don't need huge rigs or cinema lenses, just light, location, and timing. Because being cinematic isn't a preset or a color grade, it's storytelling in motion. You don't need the most expensive gear. You need patience, practice, and a point of view. I'm filming all of this with something small enough to fit in my pocket. And with these tips, you'll know that any camera can be cinematic. Alright, so hello, hi, how's everybody out there doing today? It is of course your boy, Volandis, back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to make any camera look cinematic. Now, despite the camera you're using, there are some steps that anybody can take to get the most cinematic feel out of it. And I just wanted to go over a few things that I do and a few things that I look for when making videos, regardless of the camera that I'm using, to get the most out of it. Because nowadays, even your phone can be used to get cinematic shots. I think there's a big misconception in the filmmaking world about what is considered cinematic, and I know that word gets tossed around a lot. But there are some things about whatever you're viewing that inherently makes it cinematic or not. For example, some people like to associate sensor size or depth of field with how cinematic something is. But in my opinion, that has little to do with anything. You'll see that Tarkovsky didn't rely on deep depth of field to create his cinematic feel. His films were about intentional shot compositions, light, and moods. And I think the same thing can be said about a lot of the films that we watch without a deep depth of field. I mean, even Olivia Rodrigo just filmed a music video all with an iPhone, and it looks absolutely amazing. So for this video, DJI did send me the Action 5 Pro. And I've been shooting with this camera for the last couple of weeks, just trying to get the most out of it, challenging myself to make a cinematic video and videos like I would normally make with any other camera with this small action camera, because I've never shot with an action camera for action, let alone just trying to set it up and get some cool little cinematic shots like I would normally do with any other camera. Because I wanted to see if the limitations of this camera would limit me from creating things and making things look how I want them to look. Because it doesn't have a large sensor, it doesn't let you change lenses, and it doesn't give you the shallow depth of field that people often associate with cinematic visuals, but that doesn't mean you can't create and make amazing footage with it. So again, these are my tips and tricks to make any video look cinematic. So number one, let's start with frame rate. So if you've ever watched a movie or a video on YouTube, you know what 24 frames per second is. So luckily the Action 5 is able to shoot 4K at different frame rates up to 120. 24 frames per second is my favorite frame rate, and regardless of what camera I'm using, my camera doesn't come out of that. And also the Action 5 has a 4:3 option, so you know I shot with that the entire time. To me, it's the most natural way that we view life and see things in real life. And I almost exclusively shoot at 24 frames per second because I feel like 24 frames per second is the most cinematic way that we can view something. It's the standard for film, and it gives off the most natural, organic look that we've come to associate with cinema. And for that film-like aesthetic, shooting at 24 frames per second is a no-brainer. Alright, so now for lighting and contrast. Now, if you watch any of my other videos, you know how much emphasis I put on lighting. In my opinion, it's probably one of the most important aspects of filmmaking and does a lot of the legwork when making something look cinematic. From the lightest to the darkest parts of your image is what's going to give you something that looks flat or something that looks cinematic. With the DJI Action 5 Pro, it offers a lot of manual control, allowing you to adjust things like shutter speed and ISO, so you can dial in your exposure exactly how you want it. This is especially helpful when you're shooting in challenging lighting conditions. So for example, if you're shooting at 24 frames per second or 25 frames per second and you want to keep that 180-degree rule with your footage, you can dial in these settings so you can get the most out of your camera. Additionally, you can use ND filters to cut down on the light entering the lens, allowing you to achieve the perfect exposure without having to compromise on frame rate or shutter speed or your ISO. By controlling your exposure this way, you'll get footage that looks more polished with smoother highlights and better contrast, which in my opinion are critical elements for making something feel more cinematic. Something else that I recommend doing, especially with these digital cameras, is exposing for your highlights, because for most digital cameras it's really hard to retain highlight information. Like once it's blown out, it's blown out and you kind of lose that information forever. So when you expose for your highlights, you're ensuring that the brightest parts of your image retain detail, which in my opinion gives an image more depth, more richness, and just an overall better look, especially when you're trying to make something look cinematic. I shoot film a lot, so I think I just naturally gravitate towards that look a lot more. Also, all the earlier films and all the films that I love that were shot on film just have some of the creamiest and just most natural looking and just beautiful highlights that I've seen. Also, again, as human beings, we just naturally see the brightest parts of anything in life because that's just how our eyes work. So yeah, lighting and exposure. Very, very important when it comes to making something look cinematic. Also, when you do this, I think you set yourself up to get the best color out of your camera. And speaking of getting the best color out of your camera, the Action 5 Pro is able to shoot in D-Log 10-bit, which is going to give you the best flexibility and range when it comes to being able to color this footage. And from what I've seen and what I've done with this camera, the footage looks really good. Now lastly, and I've mentioned this in previous videos of mine, but something that's really important and something that I've tried to stress a lot when talking to people about making things cinematic or just like videos that are engaging is being creative. In my opinion, the camera you use isn't as important as how you approach filmmaking. Some of the most cinematic films and videos out there don't rely on a deep focus or a shallow depth of field or lens choice or camera choice. They rely on subject matter, how well a shot is composed, lighting, camera movement, set design, and a plethora of other things. For me personally, I don't care about looking silly. I don't care about how I may be viewed by some of the people who are watching my videos. When I make videos, I act in them, like truly try to act, even if I'm not very good at it. But I do that because I feel like it makes it more engaging. I go to places like hotels and restaurants and stores because I feel like when you're out in the field and you're in these places and you're making videos in these places, it's a lot more engaging. But even when I'm filming around my house, I always try to find ways to make videos look like I'm doing more than just filming around my house. And that can be because I'm focused on the way the light is coming in from a certain window at a certain time, and I know that because I live here, or anything else that helps contribute to making something more engaging. And I feel like with the Action 5 Pro, as you can see, this is a very, very small camera. It's indiscreet and it doesn't take up too much space. So I can go to places like restaurants and stores and have this camera and use this camera and not feel awkward or not feel like I'm drawing too much attention to myself because it's really small. But when I have a camera as small as this one, people don't even usually care. Also, in terms of just using it around my house, I can put it in places that I normally couldn't put a big camera with a lens attached to it, like in my refrigerator or microwave. I can also don't worry about it getting wet because it was designed to be able to get wet. I think up to like 20 meters it can get wet. So I just feel like with how small it was, the creativity and the things I was able to do was probably a little personified in regards to how creative I can get with it. And because of the design and how rugged it is, I wasn't afraid to attach it to my car or it falling off or it getting messed up because it hit the ground. So I feel like my creativity and things I was willing to do was a lot greater than something I would be willing to do with my FX3 because I don't want this to hit the ground or break or fall or anything. So I take a little bit more precautions, but I feel like when I'm able to not have to worry about those things actually and truly be able to guerrilla style kind of run and gun and do stuff, it makes some of the shots that much better. And I feel like you can do that with any camera if you take the right steps to do so. So yeah, those are the things that I do when it comes to approaching filmmaking with any camera that I'm using to make something look a little bit more cinematic. As for the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro, this camera honestly surprised me because I don't really expect much out of an action camera. But as I started using this and as I started noticing how much control you have over a lot of things in camera, was mind-blowing, or it's something that challenges me, or something that I can use to inspire myself or other people. And you guys know that I haven't been doing videos for a little bit now, so I was happy and very excited to get out and use this and see what it could do. Now, some things I didn't mention about the Action 5 Pro is that it has 13.5 stops of dynamic range. It also has 47 gigabytes of built-in storage, which is amazing because I don't have to necessarily worry about bringing memory cards with me, which is great. It has a battery life of 4 hours. Like, I got this camera a couple weeks ago and I've been using it almost every day since, and I haven't charged it once. It has amazing rock steady stabilization. Like, you can literally run with this camera and it won't look like you're running at all. It has pre-recording up to 5 minutes. The ecosystem is really great, and it's really easy to connect mics to this, which is also really cool because audio is also a big factor in how things are perceived to be cinematic, because you can watch a decently looking video, but if the audio is bad and the audio is trashed, and it's unwatchable. So I think it's cool that you could connect the DJI mics directly to this so easily. And at the end of the day, it is $349, which is very cheap for everything that this camera offers. So yeah, that's all I got for this camera and for this video. So that's probably gonna wrap it up for me. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you are not subscribed to the video, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, I am not talking to you because you already did what you had to do. So with that being said, I'm gonna get up out of here and I'm gonna go do some shit. You know the vibes, man. Let's get it.